Well, serious or not, picks and bans for game number 1 are about to be underway, and the Solar Scarabs, they've got first pick selection choice here over the Jade Dragons, and right away they're looking to make a mark in that solo lane aspect. Hercules is going to be the first one taken off the board here by the Scarabs, and Jade Dragons could potentially just be looking to focus out some of the more aggressive options, since Solar Scarabs do have a tendency, I think, Gore, to lean more towards that early game pressure.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch how this unfolds because I think the Dragons, like last year, everything we said about this team was specifically, oh, look at them, they're great, they're early game team, that's all they can bring. And then we started seeing them get pushed to the 25 minutes, and it's like, oh no, they're just good at Smite, as it turns out. It didn't necessarily matter. But the Scarabs, a lot of their pressure is not just, I think, early game oriented, but it's inbound early game oriented. Like, inbound can be the make or break in a good way, which is he will be aggressive, and he's going to be aggressive almost no matter what. It's just how the other team retaliates. Are they able to capitalize on it and kill him every time, or is he setting up his team? Where's the follow-up from the Scarabs? We saw a little bit of that yesterday from them. We've seen it throughout this year, and it is either simultaneously fantastic or one of the worst-case scenarios for them.
Well, poor Hurry, he's not going to get an opportunity to try and play that Giannis here today in this matchup, but the Loki strip away, and could be wrong on this, Gore. You're kind of our numbers guy when it comes to these things, but Loki has been picked banned in just about every set so far since he's become available again, correct?
Yes, I actually think he's got the 100%. Yeah, he's been, and he's was banned pretty much everything until the last set yesterday, and he's been picked in every single game since then, so people don't want to deal with him, and honestly, can you blame them?
Not in the slightest, but at the same time, Solar Scarabs, they're going to take full advantage of the Yemoja Loki team-up bans. They're just going to immediately opt to lock in that Fenrir, a very strong flex pick option, because you really can't tell where this pick is intended. Could be for layers, could be for solo ritual, could also be for inbound even. Kind of would allow inbound to lean a little bit more towards that aggressive style of play, and seeing that Danzaburu response here, Gore, we all know that it's intended for Pandacat. It's been his go-to for pretty much the entirety of Season 8 so far, since the Chiron really started shaking back into the meta. Do you think that the Solar Scarabs are still going to want Chiron with that Danzaburu locked in?
Well, the answer is going to be yes. I was going to say, since it's Zap, I wouldn't argue. Like, I think he would go Heimdall, honestly. I was thinking he was going to log it in no matter what. But this is the interesting thing, because I'm looking at it as the same style draft. Like, I'm having flashbacks to the Phase 1 playoffs where I'm looking at it and it's like, okay, Bolts, like, what are you doing here? Because Danzaburu's Soul, like, Soul is great for Heroine, Danza is great for Panda. You have to do a lot with this Fenrir to make it work. And at the time they were. Lasber was absolutely insane on it. And honestly, you kind of don't want the Dragons to have it. They've given it to 3 different players on their team. But this is definitely something that is very resembling the Bolts in that matchup. Unfortunately, I do have to say the Bolts lost that one 3-1, so this is something that the Scarabs are going to have to change the playstyle going into, and that Mercury isn't giving me a lot of hope.
The Jade Dragons just do not seem at all deterred by the threat of this Fenrir, Gore. The Brutalize, definitely a strong asset in terms of actually being able to focus out the Mercury should he be looking for a special delivery, or even just his ultimate in general. Have to remember, Fenrir Brutalize can follow the channeling of that Sonic Boom as long as you start it from behind him, and Brutalize also pretty decent at following Soul through her to separate before she gets fully into that damage immunity frame. Same thing for Danzaburu. Brutalize can definitely stick to just about every single one of these members from the Jade Dragons' current top 3. Neither side, though, really trying to hold anything back in terms of revealing where their damage is going to be based out of. So what are some things you would like to see to round off these compositions?
I mean, if I'm the Dragons, like, I'm actually just going to go back and look at what they like to draft in that finals, because this is almost exactly like they liked locking in Mercury. One of the games, final game played Ratatoskr. Maybe not where you're going to go here, but like with Kukulkan's still available, yeah, maybe he's fallen down a little bit, but him, Wukong, both going to be very strong options over there in the duo lane. This Osiris was on the rise, but understandably taken away. I think that for the front line, you get Mike pretty much whatever he wants with Yemoja off the board. That's where things get a little shaky to me, because he liked going over towards that one. Ymir's still available, right? So maybe you just pick that up for Mike.
Ymir Fafnir, both still
Oh my God,
fairly
Fafnir!
strong Guardian options, especially
no.
that Fafnir when you factor in that coerce. So there's definitely a few nice options here for the Jade Dragons. It is going to be the Wukong, but again, Wukong kind of playing into Fenrir, Fenrir being one of the better matchups. So a lot of things are definitely stacking up to be a little bit more in favor for the Solar Scarabs court if they're able to hold on the execution. The execution consistency might be the name of the game here, Gore.
I don't think I've been more frightened of a Guardian than a Fafnir that can synergize, there's the word, with a Mercury, a Soul, and a Danzifer. Like, that late game just seems really disgusting, and it makes things a little more complicated. Same thing, I guess, that the Scarabs are doing. He did want to play his Heimdall.
Brainwave. This is the patented Solar or Troll Chiron solo lane. Heimdall has to be intended for Zapman.
Yeah, there's no one else that's going to take
loves
that.
running it down on this Chiron solo. It's a lot of risk, but a lot of reward too here potentially, Gore. There's plenty of damage locked in for the Solar Scarabs, but as far as the front line is concerned, this doesn't really seem to give them a whole lot of leeway for that big tankiness.
So we viewership went up since you originally made the bet.
Okay.
I'll allow you to establish your own rules here. It's the number, it was whoever was in chat when you originally made the bet, right? The viewers after the fact aren't entitled. You had to be here to take the bet.
Yeah, no, we're
right?
not grandfather clausing in there. You can't show up on the bandwagon 3 hours late to the set and say, "Oh, Mifflin owes me cash."
Right,
I've got a list. I got a list of the cash that's going on. Fire Mage X3, you're going to be the first one to see a check.
Right, and if you saw it on Twitter, it doesn't count either, so you've heard it here first. But let's check out the matchup we've got going on here, Mifflin. A matchup that historically has actually been pretty intriguing. The Solar Scarabs taking down the Jade Dragons in phase number 1. And then they matched up again in the phase 1 playoffs, and that time Jade Dragons feeling a little bit more comfortable in that matchup. But what a weird draft the Solar Scarabs bring to the table here. SOT indeed playing the Chiron out of the solo lane. Layers will have the Fenrir out of the jungle, and then inbound on this Serket support. The world's all upside down. Stranger Things Battle Pass on Tuesday, by the way, speaking of the upside down.
Nice.
But the Solar Scarabs bring something really, really spicy here in game 1.
Incredibly interesting composition here, and I think that the devs kind of hit it properly in that the Solar Scarabs can potentially win. Might be a long shot. I'd say 10 to 9 or 1 to 9 odds here.
Again?
Oh, you're right. Maybe I don't bet again. Either way, if there were odds, though, I'd be favored had I bet on the Scarabs.
Setting the odds.
Bookie. Either way, I think that this draft can work, but it's going to have to get off the ground incredibly quickly. And this is not a great start already. Zapman stuck inside his tower, inbound, sent back to base. Look, it's going to be a fast game either way. No matter which team wins, I don't think this one goes past 25 minutes.
It'll be intriguing to see if the Solar Scarabs can push the pressure. They haven't been able to do so far. Sanford Soccer takes decent chunk of damage there from Layers, but once those abilities were down, Sam tries to turn things right back around onto the Solar Scarabs jungler. It's a crystal out from Zapman to stay safe.
When you line up against a Hunter, it's just slow going for the first 6 or 7 levels.
I don't even know what a team fight with a composition like this starts to look like. Layers, it seems like on the Fenrir wants to get in your face and get aggressive. It seems like a Serket wants to do something like that as well. Is there a level of concern that these backliners, you've got 3 of them if you're the Solar Scarabs, is there a level of concern that they'll get left alone? I'll hold that thought, though. First Blood could be on the menu here. Final K turns to level 5, gets into the Somersault Cloud. SOT has triggered his ultimate as well, but Final K has got to get out of this fight. Sanford Soccer closing the gap from the blue buff. But instead, the Sun Wukong will live to fight another day. Solar Scarabs empty-handed on the solo lane gank.
Man, that has got to feel so bad for SOT. Final K ticks over to level 5, legitimately as Layers gets there. Now Sanford Soccer, Sonic Boom.
Oh, perfect beads from SOT, but now you don't have him from the remaining lockdown. Look at this, Sanford Soccer backpedaling to cover that escape route. SOT uses the cleanse, Sanford Soccer juggling the aggro, but not enough damage coming from Sam on the back pedal, and they didn't have enough, the Jade Dragons didn't, to end up getting the kill over onto SOT either. So both solo laners see some jungle pressure, and both live to tell the tale.
Yeah, but only one of them needs that defensive relic beads used out by SOT. You're right. This is a tough situation. He's going for the kill.
Yeah, Layers still over here in the solo lane. Layers still has ult. Does not have Blink, though. Does have the leap to close that gap. But I think Final K realizing without his ultimate and without vision of where Layers is, you've got to back away and just play a little bit safer. Inbound has rotated his way out of the duo lane here. He'll meet with Sanford Soccer, and this is a fight I think Sanford Soccer happy to take. Gets spun around and knocked on back. Inbound just turns over to level 5. Sanford Soccer waiting for some of the damage to come back up, but Hurrywind will finish off the kill, and now the Soul on the board here 4.5 minutes in.
Man, you'd think Bobby would like use the ultimate to try and peel for himself or something like that, but instead just tries to walk his way out, saunter on out, if you would, and it does not pan out this time around. Baronic now in a little bit of trouble in mid. PBM and Hurrywin looking for this red buff invade.
They are going to work their way in as inbound. Respawns back from base. Rotating on in from mid lane is Baronic, but PBM will knock down the buff, pick it up for himself, and take nearly no damage from this early game Merlin. And the Amir will be able to walk away. Now, something I was kind of referencing and might not even get a chance to do it yet again is PBM gets pulled right back through. Now inbound uses that ultimate. It's a nice double freeze, though, for Mike to keep himself in the fight a little bit longer. What I was talking about, FineOK deserves some credit for the way that he's played that lane. There have been a couple times, and maybe a bit of luck with the level up, that have kept him alive in that lane. But now it's the Sonic Boom in the mid lane, connects onto Baronic, who transforms on over, but the damage not onto Sanford Soccer, maybe assuming that a dash is coming in. Big wall, double freeze from PBM, and now the dive begins and the kills fall in tow. Hurrywin, all three on the board for the Dragons.
That's why you got to put some respect onto Hurrywin's soul, man. This god's so strong in the early game and has fantastic scaling come late. Layers trying to confirm his speed buff and does so, but maybe at the cost of his life wall. Tough, dude.
Man, Mike hits that wall, and of course he does. He'll get the speed buff down. Layers will, but he'll fall for
making it much harder for Hurrywin to farm. But being a tier 1 mid tower means that now the Jade Dragons are going to have a much easier time going for Gold Furies and Pyros.
They will, but PBM can't go about this all on his own. There's going to be a 3-man collapse from the Solar Scarabs. You figure you got to get a kill here onto PBM, and Layers has done so, but now Sanford Soccer closes the gap, and Hurrywin wants blood. He wants his 4th kill of the game, and he'll get it maybe in the 5th, but inbound will leap away. Sanford Soccer does not have his ultimate here to close this gap, and Baronic, for getting this early, you've got to go this far away. Panda Cat from the left-hand side looking for the Merlin, but he won't find him.
2,000 gold in the lead, and with a much more standard composition.
House money? Like,
I gotta stop talking about the money in general.
Well, you know who's playing with house money is Chat, right? I mean, Chat's playing with house money. Zapman has to use his ultimate to dash away. Has the beads, but also the crystal, so he'll survive. Still finding a little bit of pressure is Zapman, and I say a little bit. Not much was there. Peeked his head around that purple buff, and then the Jade Dragons closed the gap. Inbound blinked his way on the other side of the Jade Dragons, and now Hurrywin, Panda Cat, PBM are all going to close on in, but inbound has the damage. He'll get the 2nd kill of the game for the Solar Scarabs as Panda Cat goes down. Hurrywin Ragnaroked on through. Mike is going to separate out this fight here. Layers takes a shot. Hurrywin turns the damage around, and this Soul is on a rampage.
PBM not happy with how this one's ended. Wants to take a little bit more. Frostbite passive. Not going to get a chance to swing that one through inbound with appeal.
But there's still a fight happening on left, but over here is the more important one, is Baronic being dove in by Sanford Soccer, and Sam's got the 1v1. Jade Dragons putting some of that high-octane fuel into this composition. Not even 11 minutes in, we've got 9 kills on the board. 1,300 gold Nif. Could be a lot worse here. 5-kill separation with all the pace that the Dragons have brought to this game. Could be worse, but it is still looking bad already for the Scarabs.
PBM caught out inside his own tower, but has the beads. It turns it around immediately. Does not have the mana for Glacial Strike, so he is going to get out of there this time.
Oh, but is Zapman going to go down? The Crystal will take him just out of range of Hurrywin here, and the Soul will choose not to chase any further.
Now there's a brief moment of respite where we can get a breakdown, a macro view of this match. 5-0 is Hurrywin out of the mid lane, the largest separation insofar as experience. 2 levels for the mid laner, 2 levels for the jungler as well, and they're going to utilize that for a Gold Fury up to the Solar Scarabs and look for the defense, and it's just Bobby.
See if Inbound can make something happen. He cannot. Now the Gold Fury will push that gold lead that the Jade Dragons organically built up just a little bit further. You know, the issue yesterday in Game 2 for the Scarabs really felt like they had all this pressure. Not all this pressure. They had some return kill pressure yesterday, but couldn't make anything off of it. This time, they've just got nothing going for themselves here in the first 12 minutes of the game. Dragons steal away the Pyromancer. Again, that's FineOK rotating on over. Kept himself equal now in levels with SOT. So a moment where the Solar Scarabs figure they might be able to find some XP and gold. That's going by the wayside. Another speed buff invade. You don't see this often. As Sanford Soccer finds the speed buff, takes it away from Layers. 3-level gap now out in the jungle.
Such a tough situation to find yourself in. FineOK getting a little bit aggressive on the right-hand side of the map with the help of Hurrywin. SOT privy to it, able to get into the back of his own tower. Surrounded by 4, PBM lets him back.
He does let him back. It was a split-second decision there Mike had to make. Panda Cat, let's see if he can get out of this one. The knockback is good, and Zapman puts Panda Cat in the dirt, so at least some kills happening for the Solar Scarabs here on the left-hand side of the map.
To this one.
Right.
We were hoping that the Solar
only a matter
Scarabs,
of
or
time.
if you were a Solar Scarabs fan, you're hoping that they were able to win out the early game a little bit more convincingly so they can transition this hyper-aggressive composition well into the late game. But so far, 15 minutes in, Jade Dragons, small lead, but still a lead nonetheless.
Right, you have to figure it's only a matter of time before this lead gets pushed. We'll see what happens with Final K here. 3-man dive. Somersault Cloud is ready to go. Bird form will get Final K out of range. Might have to trigger the ultimate here shortly as the stun comes on down. Somersault Cloud up into the air. He'll go beneath the tier 2 in all likelihood here, but there's still 3 excited members of the Solar Scarabs waiting on the other side. SOT channels the ultimate, clips Final K with enough damage to get him into threshold, but the damage won't be there. SOT ends up getting the final tick thanks to the blue stone. And the 3-man dive pays off. You got to look at what's happened, though, in the meantime. Mifflin Panda Cat has gotten both towers and left. Fire Giant being called here for the Solar Scarabs. 1 man up could be the advantage they need.
This is a console Fire Giant call if I've ever seen one. Bobby, Layers, and
They've got some
Veronica holding
damage.
onto it.
It's a sonic boom on through from Sanford Soccer. Layers still on the FG. The Fire Giant stands strong, but Sanford
fight.
Soccer does not, as Zapman has picked up the kill. These health bars so low. Could be a buffet for Panda Cat. As the Donza rotates through, finds the first kill. SOT galloping away. Doesn't want to be on the menu for the second kill here for Panda Cat. The FG has stalled out. That thing was low, really close. 1 split second later, and the Jade Dragons might have missed it.
If Sanford Soccer had just waited maybe a split second for his team to get there, might have been able to turn around some of those kills and maintain his life. Meanwhile, SOT on tour, trying to escape PBM here, but he's going to get surrounded briefly and easily. SOT now dashing towards Final K, just trying to strip away some of the farm.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get some of this farm in the back pocket. I don't think SOT got any of it. Now Hurrywind with his 6th kill of the game.
That's too many.
That is too many. Top player damage is SOT, but we've seen how that lane goes. But right behind there is Hurrywind on this Soul. So Fury going to be respawning here shortly, so Panda Cat is going to likely help whittle that down away with the rest of his team. Might not even need the help. He's going to solo out this Oni Fury all on his own. Solar Scarabs, I mean, what a gutsy call there, Mifflin. They had the damage. Look, you had this Merlin. You got 3 carries at this point in the game, 17 minutes in. Maybe that's the type of moment. Maybe that's the type of moment that gives the Scarabs an opportunity to steal away an objective like that.
Yeah, had they been able to strip that one away, it would have cut out the entirety of the gold lead that the Jade Dragons have established for themselves so far.
Surviving that lane as long as he did, getting a bit of damage here on the right-hand side that might now get capitalized on by the Jade Dragons. Now at a point in the game, equal in levels with SOT and still able to make an impact on the Sun Wukong. Very, very important for the Jade Dragons and pushing the lead that they've already built up. Things have gotten worse, though, looking around 4,500 as the gold lead has built up. Fire Giant started up here as Inbound rounds the backside, looking for the backliners of the Jade Dragons, and Inbound has found the backliners of the Jade Dragons. Hurrywind has to use both actives, and it's Layers who gobbles them on up, but the Disapparate keeps this soul alive, and Inbound has eaten way too much damage here, so the Circuit has to leave. Final KO, Mifflin diving onto Baronic.
Baronic Bees and Aegis expended early, so his life follows suit, and Sanford Soccer gets credit for the kill.
Oh, and he's got a double, and at this rate could be worse. Zapman knocks him back into the crystal. Big play from the Heimdall to keep himself on the map. I'm not sure it matters much, though. The Jade Dragons right on over to the FG.
Nobody from the Solar Scarabs able to step up to this one. SOT maybe looking for the miracle still,
Does
but
not
without
have
Centaurus, there's no way he can go for
Oh
it.
my
Caught out. Great
oh,
wall.
No. And now the FG on the back end of a big fight from the Dragons and a cap-off kill onto SOT. The Fire Giant will finally go down, and this time over to the Jade Dragons. And earlier on, you know, we were giving the Solar Scarabs some intrigue. We were keeping things fair. The Solar Scarabs were not that far behind in gold. Passively, the gold lead built up another 1,000 or 2 for the Dragons. This is where it gets out of control. We're at 7K on the map as far as the actual gold differential goes, 8K as I speak. Plus you've got that Fire Giants kind of, in your mind, the 10K differential that provides. This is where the Dragons put this game out of reach.
Yeah, now we're at 9K, but Zatman trying to bring something back from the edge of the abyss, finds Final K in mid, and sends him to Niflheim.
Oh, Final K will transform in the last auto. Doesn't connect. So Zatman doing a good job at least of finding some pressure here in mid. Let's get this wave pushing in. Every second counts in a game like this. If all you're doing is looking for that one big fight that can maybe turn something around, every second that you can provide yourself away from an FG siege is worthwhile, especially if Zatman is able to get out alive, and he will. thanks to the Crystal.
Nobody on the side of the Solar Scarabs is genuinely tanky enough to deal with it. Best target would be inbound, but that is a small framed circuit with single target CC. Think this Phoenix might go down for free.
Time to see how the Scarabs respond. Mike will throw up a wall. The walls have been inch perfect here this game on the Amir. Still enough damage from the Dragons to nearly get the Phoenix down. Sonic Boom traded out as an engage for Sam for Soccer, and the crits fly on in, but Zapman will best Sam for Soccer. FineOK closes the gap, gets right back on top of the Heimdall, and now a couple members of the Solar Scarabs scurrying back to the fountain. SOT left alone. PBM gets the kill. The Jade Dragons get a 3-for-1, and they're storming into the Titan.
PBM is low HP here, but Fire Giant will do a lot to top him off. It's an engage from inbound, and Layers dies instantly.
Layers, or inbound, excuse me, has to leap away, but at this rate, the Jade Dragons making quick work of the Titan, making quick work of the Scarabs. Game 1 comes to a close in 22 minutes.
The start, I think, that the Dragons would have liked here, which was just Whirlwind and Sam having the times of their lives. I mean, Hurry, at one point, I think, was like 7-0. Like, he was just running rampant in the mid lane.
Sam, especially with that Mercury, man, he was just all over Boronic, never really gave him an opportunity, and this moment,
that was
actually
heartbreaking.
Crushing for Layers, tipping into that T2 for the tower shot. Pretty sure his Brutalize is about to be back up off cooldown as well, so it was basically a guaranteed kill if only that tower shot didn't apply, but kill or not onto Hurrywin there. Layers, unfortunately, had to suffer the most by far out of everyone else on the Solar Scarabs, and his score line is kind of just the result of what happens when you have such an aggressive solo lane pick. There was just no real opportunity for him to try and find any of that right side solo farm. He basically had to depend solely upon his team's aggression to try and find his entryways for a victory.
Yeah, there just weren't a lot of avenues, despite the options they had to themselves, I think, for the Scarabs to find the wins they wanted. And you can see where the pressure was. I mean, Zapman has a pretty good slash line, but it really is Layers and Boronic who kind of ate the brunt of the damage. They were forced to fight, I think, more than they would have liked there. And unfortunately, they just weren't able to keep up with the opposing mid-jungle duo.
Would you think that the Solar Scarabs are still going to try and bank it all on a 5 damage composition?
Man, I want to say no. And, like, if I were adapting to this, to what we just saw, I would absolutely not run it back. That being said, part of me also wants to see them run it back, almost exactly what they just had, because it's, like you said, it's something that could work. It's just what the Dragons pick around it and how you deal with them that's going to maybe flex that through. And so I think being able to maybe limit things like the Mercury, maybe take away the Soul, there's some bans or at least maybe some picks that you can scoop away from them that could follow the same theme for the Scarabs while still stripping away the Dragon's potential to fight back early on.
Do you think there's a universe, though, where Chiron Solo can actually prosper against the likes of FineOK?
Well, it was doing pretty well for a little bit there, and then it stopped doing pretty well against him. But for a little bit, I think it has its merits. At least early on, I think it's going to cause some trouble for him, but late game, I think you give FineOK any warrior, and I'm not sure that there are many hunters that are going to give him as much trouble as you would like.
The Solar Scarabs definitely just needed a method to try and alleviate the pressure from the front line out of the Jade Dragons, but between Amir and Sun Wukong, it's really tough to escape all that dive, especially with the Amir walls causing such a huge separation factor, and Amir actually not being looked at as the problem factor here. Instead, it's going to be the Mercury that the Solar Scarabs opt to ban away. Pele going to be following suit, and a Soul to boot. So mid-jungle definitely seen to be the target focus by the Scarabs.
Now, Mercury, Soul even, I think I would have been able to say, okay, I can see that coming. Pele kind of hit me out of left field. Like, I understand it. It is very good for Sam. That is a good Sam pick. But it was not exactly on the forefront of my mind. I think kudos more so to the Scarabs for being able to think about that. Whereas the Dragons are very much in the same vein that they've been the entire time. The Circuit being added on, but Yanis and Tiamat are pretty much just going to be staples. Your Fafnirs, your Fenrirs, your Ymirs, all things that can end with R or various and sundry other gods that we've seen. I mean, there's so many first pick options available.
The Pele ban kind of telegraphs, though, that at least for the Solar Scarabs, they want a pick for Boronic that's not going to be as easily harassed by those long-range dive assassins like the Mercury has to offer with the Sonic Boom. Pele's almost the same way as the Mercury in terms of her dive, and Raijin Merlin were definitely some of the picks that I had in mind, but it seems as though Raijin's going to be the getaway option here for the Solar Scarabs. A very strong first pick, in fact, and does offer a lot of burst opportunity here. But Gore, you were just talking about all that frontline presence that's still up for grabs.
I mean, so much available to him. And now you've limited Hurry slightly, I guess, in terms of where we've typically been seeing him going. Like, his Yanis is to the point where it's become legend at this point because no one lets him play it anymore, although this time they banned it away. Soul was right underneath that. I know we're excited for whatever's available. I completely forgot about Gilgamesh because he's been banned so much this week that my mind just flushed him away. And I'm going to tell you, Fenrir Gilgamesh, that's going to be a Mike Fenrir, that's going to be potentially a Sam Gilgamesh. Like, that is a very devastating combo for their top two.
What's tough for the Scarabs here is that both Fenrir and Gilgamesh could be very easily flexed between three different members on the Jade Dragons.
And they do it all the time.
Exactly, and there's no clear indication as to who's going to wind up with what. So Jade Dragons possibly at a slight advantage in terms of being able to interchange their pick options for more favorable matchups, but a Wheelish could put a damper on this Jade Dragons composition so far. That gravity surge going to be very detrimental for Gilgamesh and Fenrir on their initiations.
This is where things get a little more interesting to me, and that's just thinking that technically the last time these two teams played each other, the Dragons were up 1-0, and the Scarabs won Game 2 and Game 3. Maybe they're kind of banking on Game 2 and 3 a little bit more. And they, admittedly, like, their Game 2s and Game 3s are way better. For some reason, that first game, sometimes the Scarabs come out, and they just tank really hard. And, like, yesterday we didn't get to see that, but a couple of weeks ago during the playoffs, like, it was just, like, the first game, you don't want to think about it, you don't want to talk about it, you just erase it from your memory. Maybe they just wanted to get that as out of the way as quick as possible, while still giving themselves a pretty good chance to now run into what's going to be, so far, a really interesting draft from them. I actually like the Awilix Hercules combo.
Raw, though, introduces a nice level of team sustain that the Jade Dragons could possibly leverage in terms of stretching out those team fights up against the Solar Scarabs. Not to mention that the movement speed that Raw has, as well as the slow, could be a little bit annoying for the likes of a Wheelish and Hercules should they be the ones trying to primarily focus out Hurrywin on that pick. Something I'm kind of taking note of, though, Gore, is an Ares possibility coming through as a pick. Ares poses a lot of issues for a Wheelish Hercules and Raijin with that cripple off of the chains. Geb could maybe cause for reconsideration out of the Jade Dragons, but this is ultimately a really aggressive five-man comp out of the Solar Scarabs, excluding the Geb.
And honestly, the Geb, like, it's really weird to think about it. This doesn't feel like a Scarabs draft to me. Like, it feels like something a couple of the other teams would run, but not something that they've been picking up too often. We'll get to that in a little bit. We'll see what they're talking about. But I think the Uller, the Awilix, the Hercules, the Raijin, like you said, all four of them really want to fight. And I actually like the Geb being the thing that's right beside them, because if you're going to get aggressive, get in there, especially as a Wheelish, the best thing you can have is a Geb shield.
God, I love it here. Can I just say, look, don't worry, I'll dive into the game here in the next 10 minutes or so. I love that one, like, very casual little bit from Myth about I bet you $5 has now escalated to an actual discount code people can use to get. I love this place. It's amazing here, and I love being here on the SPL, especially with you, Mifflin. It's a great time. Let's cast this game between the Jade Dragons and the Solar Scarabs. We will now reroute our. See our mentals back on track. I got Mifflin with a little bit of flattery there. The Solar Scarabs actually drafting something a little bit more standard here in game number 2. They get SOT onto the Hercules. Plenty of aggression still, not the Chiron, but still the potential to do some serious damage.
Whoa!
Giving themselves a chance in this game, but look at that interaction. Final K leaps out, and SOT nearly grabs the solo kill. But Final K lives to fight another day somehow.
Yeah, let that be a lesson to anyone who's questioning why that mask start is so good. SOT swinging for about 112 on that third strike of his auto chain. Just too much damage coming through there. Final K gets out by the skin of his teeth. But I'm not sure if the desk hit this point, Dave. There's an interesting matchup on the board here. This Geb into Fenrir, you can just stone shield out of Ragnarok.
Sanford Soccer blinks over the wall here in the mid lane, trying to do some damage to Layers, but Layers will survive. Instead, Layers wants more. He wants to engage onto Sam, and down goes Sam, down goes Hurry. Hurrywind. A quick 2-kill swing for the Scarabs gets answered back by a kill of PBM's own. Is he going to get the double here? Enough damage from Zapman makes PBM slow down the minions. Nearly getting
Whoa!
Zapman, of course he hits those, but he has to dodge out some of the damage from Panda Cat here, and Zapman gets it done. So are Scarabs with a 3, make it a 4-kill swing.
Goodness gracious, aggression across the board here. It's a great slow or repositioning tool if you're able to get the fully channeled. The Shockwave is going to set up phenomenally for this Awelish, and Cataclysm, always a great tool.
Layers now looking for a kill over onto FinoK. None of the setup connecting though, and FinoK just going to hang out beneath his tower line just a little bit longer. And so Layers now with a couple of kills under his belt will resume right on back to farming here. There's some setup around this Awelix as well. You've got the Hercules knock-up inbound, of course, has a knock-up in there as well. The Polar Bear Mike will provide that setup on over to Layers. Excavate makes its way on through. PBM gobbles up Layers, puts him right back down, but Layers has got plenty of damage to win that 1v1. FinoK down to half HP, but Sanford Soccer's dunked on down.
Wow.
Searing pain, no good from Hurrywind despite the setup being there. And now Layers will make his way on out of this fight. You're going to have to path aggressively if you're the Jade Dragons if you want to get this kill, then they will not.
Got a little micro view on why that gap is so strong in a Fenrir PB. And a couple of these gods on the side of the Solar Scarabs make it easier to be hit. Once the Tycho drums is channeled, you kind of root yourself a little bit. Easy to line up the Searing Pain from that. Cataclysm does the exact same thing. And SOT does the exact same thing with Excavate as well. So Hurrywind going to have plenty of opportunities to find these ultimates.
Look at this grouping. 4 for the Solar Scarabs and the Dragons over on the right-hand side of the map. PBM is no more. That's the knock-up and the pullback. That's the combo on the other side. You need to be looking out for. Solar Scarabs kind of faking a blue buff invade there will get the kill instead. Now it's a stun down onto Hurrywind, who will gather up some of that move speed to get himself out of this fight. FinoK now walks in behind the Solar Scarabs. He'll have to leap away. Tycho drums over the wall from Baronic. Taunt FinoK back in. Beads are burnt, and all of them connecting. And that'll open up SOT to get underneath the tier 2 tower, but Excavate no good.
SOT still hovering, seeing if maybe he wants to step back into the Winds of Shamash. Goes for the pull, but just a little bit too late.
And then it's kind of overstay, and Zapman makes a massive play and getting a lot of that damage turned around. That's when the pressure of this lane really started to switch. Panda Cat into the rocket. Oh, nearly body blocked out by Zapman, but Panda Cat will survive. Didn't use it in a 1v1, so has it to escape here.
Good to be able to bring some of that map control to these late game team fights. Winds of Shamash, just a phenomenal tool just to deny area and to control these neutral objectives. So he's certainly not out of this one just yet, and he actually has a pretty aggressive build with the Mystical Mail.
It's things like this, though, that can get the Jade Dragons back into this game. This is the Pyromancer going down. Gold Fury is up, so the Scorpion was taken down at some point, but the Jade Dragons for free walk on over towards that Pyromancer. So it is a stable 2k gold lead after some neutral gold goes over to the Jade Dragons. So our Scarabs are going to try to build on their lead just a little bit further as Gold Fury started up here. Panda Cat around the corner, but Baronic inbound. Zapman will have something to say about it if Panda Cat pokes his head in too quickly. Hurrywind, it's only the carries over here on the left-hand side of the map. The Solar Scarabs, in the meantime, take down the Gold Fury. Hurrywind is able to back away, but has to use both actives.
Usually you see that sequence in reverse. It's usually Gold Fury pulled
to
nice. Pyro, but Sanford Soccer pulled in and loses his life.
Massive knock-up and execute there from Layers. Now Baronic with the Tycho drums, free casting in the backline. Hurrywind knocked up yet again. Big plays from SOT, and the Jade Dragons lose 2. Plus the Gold Fury over in the mid lane.
Bro, I want to see SOT on this pick more often. Give me this Hercules. Man grouping from the Scarabs in mid. Thought maybe for a second a dive attempt, but instead it's Breznov on the left-hand side who finds the ire of 4 members of the Scarabs.
He has the rocket inbound with a chance to block it, and he does. It's Panda Cat alone underneath this tier 1 tower. Now the Solar Scarabs will find their victim. Then it's Panda Cat going down on left. Could be a tier 1 tower as well.
Yeah, goes for the rocket, inbound blocks it. Let's go, Dave. He's freestyling mid-cast. That's a multi-talented guy here.
I took a $5 rap lesson between our first and second set.
Where'd you find the $5?
Oh, it's just on the I mean, it was the freest money I've ever made. Also, don't take a $5 rap lesson. Not really worth the money on that one. Jade Dragons, though, they do group up over here on the right-hand side by the Pyromancer. It's a knockback by SOT, but not the knock-up. Oh, the boulder! Are you kidding me? It gets the perfect ricochet on the Sanford Soccer, who dies anyway. SOT, call it luck, call it skill, call it a death. Sanford Soccer goes down in an odd-numbered fight for SOT.
Man, I'll call it simple geometry. SOT so well-versed at this god. Finds FinoK with the pull as well. You thought you could jump away. Layers is there.
Here we go. FinoK gets pulled on back in, and now Layers on a rampage. 504 is a Solar Scarabs jungler. Hey, I'll take a Primal Fury to go, please. That feels pretty good for the Solar Scarabs. And hey, I'll take a Pyromancer to go, please, for the Solar Scarabs. Also feels good here. So now this gold lead's starting to be big here. SOT has been controlling this game, you feel like, in so many aspects. Now has been able to build up an advantage that Final K won't be able to match. At least not for the next few minutes. Panicat uses the rocket. Inbound blocks. I did it again. Panicat Layers takes him down, and Panicat has had that ultimate now countered out a couple of times in a row.
That's one of the weaknesses of Danzaburo, man. It's so easy to block the rocket. All you have to do is stand near him legitimately. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the map, though, Jade Dragons able to get something back. Tier 2 tower should go their way.
See, I paid $5 for a rap lesson, and they taught me only one rhyme. That's what you get for a $5 rap lesson. That's why that's the only thing I've got in the back pocket here. The Solar Scarabs starting to run away here with game number 2. Tier 2 tower and right will stand strong, but the Phoenix in the mid lane getting sieged up by the Solar Scarabs. SOT, why not? Let's dive in here into the Titan room as Hurrywind will use both actives onto this Raw. He's down to half HP, but keeps himself in the fight a little bit longer. PBM stays alive underneath the Cataclysm, but not for much longer. Baronic puts him down.
Great job from Layers to make sure Final K isn't able to go back to base here. But you know I gotta do it to him. Zapman, Aegis is nothing, and then Bees is out of the Ragnarok after he'd already been Stone Shield out, man.
Is that the opposite of the normal?
Yeah, usually he doesn't use the relics. He's self-conscious. It's gotta be. No, I'm not worried about it whatsoever. If the Jade Dragons somehow steal the Fire Giant, it means they're close enough to be killed, all right? They shouldn't be stepping up to it. Legitimately, it's not enhanced just yet. Instead, their best odds are probably playing under their Phoenix.
You got to sprinkle some intrigue into matchups like this every once in a while.
Maybe
the Jade
Rowls?
Dragons are not going to attempt to steal this one away unless PBM is able to close this gap. And no, the Solar Scarabs get the Fire Giant on all 5 members.
Hurrywind over on the left-hand side going for a split push Raw. I think Ben did that back in Season 7 a little bit.
Yeah, he might have. And Hurrywind now is going to have to go back to base. The left side wave will reach the Tier 1 tower of the Solar Scarabs, but all eyes of the Scarabs over here on the right-hand side. Jade Dragons collapsing in as 5. Baronic has been safe all game long. It's Zapman now that gets pulled back in by PBM, but is immediately able to get out of it. Sam for Soccer pulled back, driving strike on away. Not enough damage, though, to get Sam for Soccer out of the fight just yet, out of the game. At least just yet, but the Solar Scarabs storming forward. Final K has to use the bead to keep himself from getting pulled back through. It's a Cataclysm to lock the Gilgamesh in place.
Final K somehow, against all the odds, still alive. Is he going to be able to excavate? Does not connect. Final K lives.
The Solar Scarabs, their health bars dwindling here as Sam for Soccer finally a kill on the board, and it's Baronic that falls, but SOT, he's got himself a double kill as he rampages through game number 2 here. Polar Bear Mike left alone with the carries of the Solar Scarabs. Hurrywind, the last one aside from Final K alive. Hurrywind will use the Aegis. He will not make it into the fountain. It's a triple kill for SOT. The Hercules is run wild in game 2, and the Solar Scarabs push us on to a game 3.
This is what we were talking about, man. Solar Scarabs will make you earn every single set win.
Where are the Dragons? Like, did they actually load in? Can we check that they were at their PCs? Because I think, like, Layers and SOT played out of their damn minds. But there was no signs of life from the other side. Maybe that's just even more credit to the Scarabs for controlling the game that well. But this Awelish got off to a really good early start, and I think was able to again, synergize really well with, namely, the only other member that was putting out as much as Layers, which was SOT. I think the entire team played well. The Geb Shields coming in clutch for so many of those occasions and really stopping, I think, Sam and PBM from running away. But SOT, in terms of setup, but also damage that he was able to output here, I mean, him and Layers really got to run the show.
Had to do something to make up for that game 1 display, I feel like, for SOT at the very least on that Hercules. Certainly a 180 difference from the Chiron solo that we saw out of him in game number 1. And not only that, but this was a little bit of a battle of the early game, and we saw it in the highlights there, Gore. Level 2 Layers having the confidence to just blink right in onto Sam for Soccer. And when it comes to Thanatos, Gore, early game is where you are meant to thrive. So that shutdown that Layers was able to accomplish against Sam for Soccer really just dampened the entirety of that early game pressure from
So this
Jade
is going to be a
Dragons.
time for the Dragons to try and showcase what they have. Can they bounce back? And if I'm the Scarabs, I'm almost looking at the notes we just took. Whatever you did for game 2, you want to keep on that track.
Well, Heading into game number 3 now, Solar Scarabs are still going to maintain that first pick position. Seems as though the Jade Dragons actually defaulted to wanting that second pick option up against the Scarabs. And the Scarabs, since it worked out so well for them in game number 2, they're going to go ahead and ban away that Mercury, Pele. I'd imagine probably the Soul to follow suit after those initial bans. And in a sense, Gore, we almost saw a kind of swap between these two teams, between games 1 and 2. In game number 1, Solar Scarabs, super aggressive 5-man composition, did not work out for them. Jade Dragons were then like, all right, my turn. Super aggressive 5-man composition, and it just did not work out for them. But with that Wheelish ban and the Hercules now being taken away, Jade Dragons are definitely going to force the Solar Scarabs to shake it up a little bit one more time in game 3.
It leaves open the Giannis and the Circuit, though, and, well, guess what? Baronic's in the game. If that hadn't been picked up right there, you bet Whirlwind is locking it in. But this is the thing. Baronic has put on a masterclass on this guy.
Smile, by the way.
Is it going to be enough? I mean, Hurry seems to be laughing about it as well. I'm wondering if they're going to. I mean, you had mentioned the Ares last game. Now I feel like just a Giannis is enough for me to start saying, all right, let's get ready to try and gear things towards an Ares pick. And that Fenrir, once again, so flexible. But I wouldn't mind seeing the Dragons maybe try to isolate that, because Baronic can be such a problem on this pick.
Fenrir feeling a little bit more safe, knowing that Wheelish is not going to be there to try and harass whoever winds up with that Fenrir select option out of the Jade Dragons, because he is super flexible, and when you have such an interchangeable god for 3 different roles, it just makes it even easier for the Jade Dragons to solidify some more of their backline damage. And Raijin, while he might not have the same mobility as Giannis, he does still have very strong range to work with, and that little bit of an interrupt from the Thunderclap could pose some issues for Baronic if he's not completely committed to his moments of play.
I mean, this has been an interesting draft, because like you highlighted there, but like the Wheelish Geb was just such a thorn in the side of the Fenrir. Like PBM couldn't get anything done. And now that they've gone Gilgamesh Guan, I mean, that still is jungle solo, so it leaves them open that option. Bobby, it was one of those things, it's so unfortunate when you play like Geb or Kepri, because the best thing you can do is not be seen in the KDA, right? Like, you don't want to be visible there. You want to be absolutely unseen, and that's kind of the play where it's like all of your shields were absolutely insane. The reason your team's able to do so much is because they get away from this Fenrir, but you don't get to sing the praises because they look good because of your sacrifice there. I think it's important to note what he's able to apply. But it's also interesting to see the transition here, the Hercules to the Guan, how that's going to affect him. A lot more healing online, but maybe a little less displacement. Still some good setup, though, in the ult.
Still some good team separation to be factored in here as well, because you don't want to be grouped up inside of that cavalry charge. That ultimate can swing pretty hard here, Gore, and not only that, but it's great at just separating carries from their front line. And given the fact that we're looking primarily at Fenrir Osiris, there is some potential, I think, for the Gilgamesh Guan Yu to pose a lot of issues for that back line that the Jade Dragons currently have locked in. Danzabaru still up for grabs here for Panicat. Heimdallr could potentially be seen here as well. Zapman last game on the Ur opted for a very pen-heavy build, even had a Brawlers at one point in time, and I do think that the Geb ban was definitely smart from the Jade Dragons. However, have to keep in mind, a big part of the reason why Geb wasn't being just completely dunked on in the early game is he had layers with that Wheelish to negate a lot of that initiation that you would typically expect to see from a Fenrir and a Thanatos early on. But the Yamoja lock-in, if we're talking about separation,
7th, by the way.
That's what Yamoja has a tendency to accomplish. River's Rebuke is certainly going to be a very impactful ultimate up against the likes of that Guan Yu.
Yeah, this is going to be either trapping him in or locking him out. But either way, it's something to help kind of isolate him. Plus the Riptide being able to force him, again, in or out, depending on where they want to lock him down. Something that PBM has been incredibly good at. Kind of surprising to see it go this far down, the Loki ban taking precedence over that, so he does only dodge out one game this week, but still, the fact that they are a little more worried on the Scarabs of the Loki than they were something like the Yamoja, I think just goes to showcase how threatening this team can be, plus how threatening that Fenrir can be, because now that ban effectively feels useless, right? You know that Fenrir is going to go into the jungle with the Osiris and the Yamoja locked in. PBM's going to be able to rock this and run down a lot of sustain to keep up with that Guan Yu.
What do you think is going to be Baranik's primary focus here on this Giannis, though? Do you think that he has to play this more around just disengage to try and give his team a chance to reach that mid to late game? Or do you think he's just going to try to play taxi driver for his team and look to find a pick early on before Jade Dragons have a chance to rotate in?
Man, early on, I think he has to play it a little more patient. Like, I see Fenrir Raijin, I don't want to fight. I don't care who I'm playing. I don't want to fight into that, at least not too often. Yes, you're going to have Gilgamesh coming with you, and maybe there's some displacement where you can get aggressive, but I think playing it and kind of laying in wait, the places we've seen Giannis be the most effective is those late game 5v5s where you just get the short range shotgun blast for your through space and time.
Meanwhile, Zatman having a little bit of a dance on his tier 5 skin. Make sure you always pick those up when they roll around. You never know how long they're gonna be around, Smite fans. I gotta stop doing these impromptu ads. Gotta leave that to the desk.
No, man, you're killing it. Well, you can't use the $5 discount code on that. You can
what's
use
that code, by the way?
I think it's shop.smiteproleague.com, code Mifflin, I think.
And it goes at live 9 a.m.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
live 9 a.m. tomorrow. Look at this. Inbound has taken, I think, more damage than he bargained for over here. On the left-hand side, SOT has taken some decent damage. There have been fireworks across the map here in this game. SOT and Final K have gone toe-to-toe. The dual lane, it feels like, has found these advantages. Level 2 reached first by PBM and Panic Out, so no surprise that Zatman and Inbound pushed back against their Tier 1 tower early into this game. It's a full rune stun onto Baranik. A little bit of damage follow-up from Hurrywin, but Layers is able to do so as well. I don't think any surprise here, Mifflin, that a Chiron Yamojo lane has this much pressure. Zatman, I wouldn't call that close, but low health bars there over on the left-hand side of the map. But Layers finally gets it done here in the mid lane, and Hurrywin goes down for first blood.
Man, I was just waiting for my opportunity to say that the 2v2 should favor the Jade Dragons in mid going throughout the early game. Just Giannis doesn't bring nearly as much as a Raijin. Fenrir has a phenomenal early game as well, but didn't get the opportunity before the Solar Scarabs flipped the script.
Oh, Zatman rip-tided back here by PBM, and there won't be any follow-up attempt on the other side of it. Layers is half HP, so now Hurrywin low into level 2, still has a lot of climbing to go to reach level 3 there, so Baranik probably close to a 1-level lead over into the mid lane. We've seen that so much, it feels like, here this weekend, kind of that 2v2 grouping, one of the two junglers commits, and we see first blood somewhere out of the mid lane. Maybe just the state of the meta at the moment, where you can get some of this early damage out of your mid laners, out of your junglers, setting up for a first kill.
Yeah, Solar Scarabs now can, I think, honestly rest on their laurels for a little bit as insofar as the mid lane goes. Baranik is going to be looking to scale pretty well into the mid to late game, so doesn't really need to do too much in the near future. Just maintain staying afloat in comparison to Hurrywin, whereas I think the Jade Dragons, they need to expedite this process. This Raijin, incredibly strong in the early. Fenrir, incredibly strong in the early as well. That's not to say that they don't also have decent scaling. It's just that the Jade Dragons have a significant advantage with their God selection.
Here we go. This is what you want to see if you're the Solar Scarabs or one of their fans. You got these early advantages. Let's push it a little further. Layers grabs the red buff on the invade against the Jade Dragons. His speed buff is up, but guess you can let that one sit there for a little while if you want to. Any rhyme or reason to grabbing that red there versus going back for your own speed?
Looking to do a little bit more damage. I don't think he leaves the speed buff up because you just want to make sure you're constantly getting that farm. But he's just looking to find those early kills. I got to believe this Gilgamesh hits hard.
Sanford Soccer jumps on in on the back end of a stun from Final K, but SOT will survive underneath his Tier 1 tower here. Got to get aggressive, jump in there, try to find some engage and inbound. I think on the back end of a good game number 2 has the ability to do that here on this pick here in game 3.
Layers forced to use the blink defensively as Sanford Soccer looking to catch him out. Has the Ragnarok available, and no CC immunity means he's going to go along for the ride, but don't want to take him to SOT.
Layers jumps on out as the blue buff nearly gets caught by the through space in time. Instead, PBM's found a double stun on the back line with the Emoji, and Sanford Soccer will fight on. Now the rest of the fight has to rage on without this Fenrir, or so I thought. Sanford Soccer could time his jump well here. Inbound left alone, and Hurrywin with the tight go drums puts the Cerberus down. A minute ago, you were looking at the player damage charts, and Final K is effectively doubling up what SOT can. And so no surprise that that's the direction that lane is gone. Sanford Soccer uses the Ragnarok dodges out the through space in time, but Layers makes Sam pay for going in too far. Layers will jump on out, but Hurrywind will jump on in and get the kill onto this Gilgamesh. Inbound, taunted on away. The stun will not connect from PBM, but the Rivers Rebuke
Aggressive.
keeps inbound right where he is, who leaps on back in. Baronic's got enough damage to grab the kill, but PBM will get inbound once more yet again. It's a 2-for-2 trade across the board.
Final K tries to rejoin the
could he
fight
get
with
him?
his team.
No,
Baronic
it's the other way.
going for the back. PBM
Ugh.
doesn't have the vision that we do, Dave, so doesn't see him back into those back camps, and he does make his way out of there. Generally, we see Yanis players kind of rush that Chronos Pendant so they can get that additional slipperiness of just having all that cooldown, but instead, Baronic wants the damage.
The starter item, the way it is he'll use through space and time successfully. Sanford Soccer not able to complete the kill there. We'll get
And
a
he
little
finishes up his first quest and gets the hidden dagger for it, and immediately decides to get rid of that
No,
for the
thanks.
gold itself. I'm not trying to build some crit. I want consistent damage. Looks like it's going to be a stone cutting sword as Zapman finds
Ooh.
PBM and Panda Cat.
Oh, Zapman eats way too much damage. A couple of the snipes miss, but enough of them hit to set up Sanford Soccer for the leap in. And down goes Zapman for the first time this game, and the Jade Dragons for the first time will grab a slight advantage in the kills department. Nice. Picks up the stone cutting sword to match what Sanford Soccer has there over on the Fenrir. I'll hold this thought. We'll see if a purple buff invade comes through. It does. Sanford Soccer's got a double stun, but it's a double leap away from both Zapman and Layers. The snipes too connecting there onto Zap, who has to use the Aegis to stay alive there underneath this tier 2 tower. Might have been just enough health to stay alive, but Zapman didn't want to roll those dice.
I'm going to keep it a buck, man.
All
I don't think there's any world.
You want to keep it $5?
Stop it. Dude. Stop reminding them. Guys, it's code Mifflin. That's the $5. That's the deal. I'm pretty sure Zapman doesn't need to use the Aegis there.
Here's
There's
the thing,
no
I
one
didn't
follow
either.
up.
I didn't either, but no chance I'm saying that, right? I'm not committing onto that one. Inbound into the Rivers Rebuke as Sanford Soccer will brutalize the Cerberus down. Will he survive, though? Some healing coming through from PBM has kept Sanford Soccer into the fight a little bit longer, but Zapman respawns. Baronic rotates in.
Panda.
Now PBM and Sanford Soccer both down. Layers no good on the kick, but the Aegis just in time. Layers has the range, though, and Panda Cat also falls 3 for 1. Scarabs will take that every day of the week.
Scarabs separate that fight so well. Final K and Hurrywind not allowed to enter the fray whatsoever, and unknowing of standing on this ward allows the Solar Scarabs
Yeah,
to
they
find
can't
this
do
collapse.
anything here, right? Wow, the Jade Dragons, this is 2 versus 4. Hurrywind uses both actives, but no matter. Layers has got the drop kick. Big stun on the back end from Final K might be enough to save the life of this Osiris, and I say might because there's still damage, there's still a portal, and there's still a Zapman swinging away in the back line. Layers has got the double, and the Solar Scarabs in one big swing, Mifflin, regain control of the game.
35 seconds on Osiris, 20 seconds on the Raijin, and Gold Fury already under attack. Solar Scarab should be able to pick up this neutral objective. Sanford Soccer is on the rotation, but he can't get there in time.
You wouldn't think, and would have been a tall task for Sanford Soccer to jump in, steal that one away. There's a serious relic advantage for the Solar Scarabs. One way to push that around this Pyro.
Now the Jade Dragons forced to answer a difficult question. Do we step up for the defense, or do we even know about it? Couldn't tell based on the...
Doug, can you hover the mask again? Not on the stats. I just want to see the... I'm nervous at whoever the model was for the mask there. Those are some wide, nervous eyes. Sorry, I'm not going to pull us off the track here.
Too late, I'm off.
You can't do it. I'm re-putting us on the track as inbound gets pulled right back into the Jade Dragons, but his leap for the time being enough. You've spent a lot to get this kill onto inbound. You spent up against the Solar Scarabs just yet, whereas on the other side it's inbound who's died a lot. I mean, you're really starting to split hairs there, but at least an interesting stat. Looking on here towards the Oni Fury as the Solar Scarabs get it down to half HP. Hurrywind rounds in behind inbound here. Rivers Rebuke gets used. SOT has been left alone, and the Solar Scarabs take down the Fury, and SOT survives. Final K is in on the chase, and the axe will connect. And SOT is a sacrificial lamb.
And now it's Sanford Soccer alone in the back. Gets the beads off of Zapman, but costs him 50% of his HP bar. Aegis used as well,
no.
and Zapman uses the relics properly, finds the kill.
It's a double kill for Layers now on this Gilgamesh as the re-engagement comes through. Thorns used by Final K trying to chop away the health bar of Layers, and the stun will be onto one, but Final K, you've got to leave. You got to leave now. Layers jumps on in. Layers has a triple kill, and the Gilgamesh has had no answer. Were you talking about how in Letterkenny they say like Bardowski when the puck hits the top and goes in?
Triple Bardowski?
Yeah, right. Like what? I'm not letting you
Can
get
you
me off
please
track here.
focus?
I don't even know what word you just said, but I guess it tracks. Layers has put multi kills on the board a couple times here in this set. Fire Giant taken low by the Solar Scarabs. PBM will steal it away.
Wow!
It's the range from the Emoja that takes the FG away from the Solar Scarabs, and that's exactly what the doctor ordered for the Jade Dragons.
Yeah, they have to kill PBM as a point of pride now. Sure, Fire Giant only going to 3 members of the Jade Dragons, but they essentially buy themselves another 10 minutes of time. The Solar Scarabs were primed and ready. Had they gotten that buff to start sieging out what is remaining of the Jade Dragons towers, that is a hero play. PBM tying up his cape.
Massive for the Jade Dragons. Still a 5 to 6K gold differential is what they're staring down. But the Solar Scarabs, they've got all 5 members up against 4 of the Jade Dragons for the next 20 seconds or so. So there is an advantage to be pushed by the Solar Scarabs if they're able to find that range. Hurrywin has got a big role to play here underneath defending some of these towers. It is a defense put up by the Jade Dragons, and Hurrywin looking for something a little extra, but the Solar Scarabs, they want nothing to do with it, and they'll back away.
Man, crazy thunderclap in there. Looked to me like the Jade Dragons were looking for the
There you
engagement,
go.
but we got to look back at the steal. PBM, real casual, like saunters up, dodges the Stygian
dodges it,
Torment,
wow.
and just takes it away with about 100 damage. That is a tough loss for the Solar Scarabs.
You know what it is the Jade Dragons sleeve, the athletic sleeve that he plays with. You can get one of those for yourself, Miff, if you want to steal away some FGs. I think that's shop.smiteproleague.com. You can get
Do
it
it
for
tomorrow.
$5.
$5 off, 9 a.m. Code Mifflin.
Using code Mifflin at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. The Jade Dragons fully regroup themselves as 5 now. 3 Fire Giants. Fire Giant buffs remaining. Rivers Rebuke used.
SOT.
Frenzy used. SOT left alone. He'll go into the Cavalry Charge portal over onto Fine OK, but he's taken nearly no damage. Layers, the man that stepped up for the Solar Scarabs. It's a big Stygian Torment, though, is inbound. Pulls PBM right back into range of Baronic. SOT backs away beneath his tier 2 tower here, and inbound left alone.
Yeah, inbound didn't catch the memo. Guys, we're resetting, he says, but no, goes in alone, and now the Solar Scarabs had what was a clean fight, now a 1-for-1 trade. Fanoke left high and dry, Zapman jumping forward, but the Jade Dragons not going to give this engagement up. Instead, reset to their own tower and maintain their Fire Giant on their 3 members.
What a far cry this game is from game 1. I'm thinking we're in for a bit of a silly set here, but now both of these teams have brought it, and we are going up and down the map here in game number 3 to find us a winner.
Crazy.
SOT stripping some of the prots away from Sam for Soccer, and it's not enough just yet, and it will not be enough. Sam for Soccer lives to fight another day, and SOT, he's got to think about his mistakes for 50 seconds.
Map. Sam pushing on the right-hand side, and now 4 members of the Dragons working their way to the left.
Fine, okay. Sees Zapman here, and a couple members of the Jade Dragons also sees Zapman, who's going to leap away, avoid the Raiju. Any of the slows there, and Sam for Soccer, the god of slows effectively, but it's a Rivers Rebuke from PBM that Zapman might need to be worried about. It's a Rip Tide to get Zapman back in range. He'll use both of his actives. Will it matter, though? No, it won't. It's fine, okay. Picks up the kill. Massive Stygian Torment, though. Inbound's got 4 as the damage follow-up there. Doesn't seem, though, as Baronic uses the portal. Makes me eat my words. Inbound ends up falling. Sam for Soccer moving in onto this Giannis. Misses the stun. Baronic's got a double kill through it all, and Baronic will live on.
Man, you don't have to follow up on the Stygian Torment, but at least open up the door for my man's Bobby, who dies alone inside the jungle. PBM and Sam for Soccer trying to work their way out of there while there's a 1v1 in the jungle, and Layers, who has been doing it all for his team throughout this set, continues to do so, finds the mid laner. Hurrywin falls.
9-1-7 now for Layers in this one. SOT going on a journey here. PBM, Sam for Soccer, the last 2 on the map for the Dragons.
But he's not really sacrificing too much in terms of defense. Solar Scarabs picking up the Pyromancer this time around. Going to have a little bit of additional mobility when rotating out of base. Should help them out once this Dance of the Fire Giant starts up.
Compassion picked up here for SOT as well. Saw him pick up Benevolence, but that ended up being Animosity the other day. But this time around, it'll be the Compassion on this Guan Yu. Both teams are going to play this one a little bit quietly. Sam for Soccer lurking to the left. Layers providing bodyguard duties over to Zapman. Fire Giant started up here. Fine OK and Hurrywin take some damage from Baronic, who's lurking over the right-hand wall here as the Honest will back away. PBM attempting to get in range. Fire Giant melting quickly, but it's only 2 members of the Solar Scarabs that are on it, so not as fast as you'd maybe like. SOT is going to get stunned here by Sam. The Jade Dragons have done enough to stop the FG.
Only one ultimate expended in the game there, and that is Centaurus from Panda Cat. That is one of the best damaging tools on the side of Jade Dragons. It's great steal potential, but most importantly, perhaps, it's that death immunity that's going to be lost, and you better believe the Solar Scarabs have taken note.
Everyone in this game has their actives right now. That's important to look at as well. All the carries safe, all the frontliners aggressive. as they'd like to be with the relics in their status now. As 29 minutes have gone by, Fire Giant a minute shy of turning on over into the Enhanced Variety. We've seen the Solar Scarabs do this before. Zapman and Layers, 1-2 punch onto the Fire Giant. Inbound taken down to half HP in the backline, though. You've got to be careful now if you're the Solar Scarabs. Your big engage tool, the Stygian Torment, has got to be used safely. It's a Riptide from PBM, but then a leap away from inbound. Baronic had the portal there just in case, and one more time, the FG is going to get reset. In kind, we've abandoned the FG in exchange for a bit of a shuffle onto the left.
Yeah, just generating threat on the map, trying to find someone stepping up to defend this tier 2 tower and apply some poke to him. Unfortunately for the Scarabs, it's fine, okay.
Mike stuns down onto inbound. All it might take is one River's Rebuke to catch out a priority target here. The priority might not be inbound, given the fact
Sam?
that Cerberus is so tanky. He's like, they're coming back, I swear. They're going to be here any moment. Instead, the Solar Scarabs are not. Their eyes are over towards this Oni Fury. The Jade Dragons have read it well, though, and they'll rotate in. Where did
Mike?
the Hellfire go? Mike nearly evaporates under the damage of the Solar Scarab. Stygian Torment pulls the Yamoja right back in. Winds of Shamash is going to separate out this fight as Layers tries to find a kick on the Fino K, and he's got it. It's a 2-kill swing for the Scarabs, and the Dragons have to leave.
Interesting decision from the Dragons to follow them all the way to the Gold Fury. Got to think that with 5 members of the Scarabs heading to the left-hand side, just pull the Fire Giant. I mean, Sam was waiting there the whole time. He was ready for it, but instead, they follow him all the way over to the left-hand side, and the Solar Scarabs, well, they like their odds in that fight. Take it 2-0. Now, the Enhanced Fire Giant, 32 minutes in, going to strip away backdoor protections. No longer do you need minions once you pick up this buff. Just going to go ahead and walk straight to the towers.
Panda and Hurry both have some range in their ultimates, but do not want to step forward under the risk of going down. So you've got 3 tier 2 towers left, no open Phoenixes yet. They'll go down quickly. Don't get the rest of the Solar Scarabs tanky enough that you can probably just walk at these tier 2 towers, and that's exactly what will happen here. Layers combining with SOT. And how important now is some of the build we've seen from Layers in the game plan that the Solar Scarabs have brought to the table. It's been just a 1-2 pull on some of the objectives between Layers and Zapman. Now you can send Layers with some of that auto attack based build into the mid lane. It's a bit of a hybrid build maybe from Layers, but it's worked out. He's 10-1-8, and this Gilgamesh has just not had any sort of answer from the Jade Dragons.
Yeah, the Layers is deceptively tanky when taking fights inside the jungle. That's why he's able to sustain up the Fire Giant the entire time. Phoenix already down to 50%. Sanford Soccer finds Layers.
He's got Layers, but Winds of Shamash goes down, and Sanford Soccer just left alone here. Divine is Layers, and the Solar Scarabs happy about it. Baronic will have to use the portal. He'll dash on out of the fight here. Left side Phoenix has gone down as Layers eats the stun from Fino K, but the health bar is dwindling. Hurrywin in the backline gets off of full Tycho drums here. Inbound is stunned on through. SOT surging back forward. Fino K needs to survive, and survive he will. He'll go back into the fountain. It looks like the Solar Scarabs have had enough.
Left side, Phoenix already taken away. Mid Phoenix, the exact same. And those Oni minion waves, yeah, they're working their way down the right-hand side. And with all the sustain from SOT and the Fire Giant, Solar Scarabs do not need to head back to base here. Sanford Soccer dead for 30 seconds. That is a 30-second power play for the Solar Scarabs.
Yeah, Dragons, aren't you happy you had those tier 2 towers across the map? All of the Phoenixes are gone. The Solar Scarabs are on the precipice of taking down the Jade Dragons yet again here. Game number 3, 35 minutes in. Solar Scarabs have the Enhanced Fire Giant for another minute, and so the Titan siege begins. It's SOT alone onto the Titan, but he will back away. The Titan gets reset. Zapman riptided back through, has the beads, uses them this time, and he'll stay alive.
He does, but it doesn't seem like the Scarabs are willing to give it up just yet. Maybe they head back to base here. Only 50 seconds left on that buff, so instead they are going to go ahead and reset to neutral. But Bobby, late on the uptake, picked up by Sanford Soccer, but the rest of the boys are here!
They're re-engaging. It's through space and time that brings the Scarabs right back into the fray. Sanford Soccer is able to stay in the fight, though inbound down for a minute. SOT left alone in the base of the Jade Dragons, and he will survive no more. Hurrywind has picked up the return kill. Zapman gunned down by Panda Cat. Now the Solar Scarabs, they only have 2. Tycho drums won't hit their mark, but Layers and Baronic, they might have to defend here. It's the envelopment from the Jade Dragons in the backline. Sanford Soccer keeps the Titan alive. Baronic able to get out with the Aegis. Layers doing his best to sidestep some of the damage. Fire minions have found their way on into the Titan, but for a moment we can breathe.
Sanford Soccer finally able to clear them all out, but Baronic looking for that backdoor potential, just shows himself on the map inside these minions.
Whoa,
Nobody
Layers!
can raise to pick him up, but Layers finds Hurrywind in mid. This is a back and forth battle. Solar Scarabs from the brink. All the Scarabs have to do is get in range. That's the entirety of the game plan
They
here.
got a good ult to
They
do
can
it.
walk through Jade Dragons. That's all they have to do.
They got a good ult to do it. They got it through space and time, so we'll see if the Solar Scarabs are able to capitalize on this one. Through space and time, flies in. Inbound makes his way through the river.
It's just him!
He's alone in onto the Titan, but the rest of the Solar Scarabs follow up. Down go the Titan, and down goes the Jade Dragons.
You are riding a thin wire. You either win hard or lose hard. Unfortunately for them, they lost hard. But game 2, SOT and Layers stepped up. Guess what? Layers stepped up once again for game 3. I think everybody on the team looked good, but Layers on this Gilgamesh from first blood to the end of the game was a driving force for them. I mean, 16.0 KDA. Like, this guy is just playing out of his mind here, and I was really enjoying watching this. The level of play that he was able to put up, the amount of control he gave to his team, it was just immeasurable, and it comes along with what Baronic was able to do, what SOT was able to do, and also inbound, like every single one of those ults that connects, despite an FG steal, despite all this stuff that doesn't go their way, they still look good doing it.
Definitely some strong moments for the Jade Dragons, though, throughout this set. They nearly had the Solar Scarabs towards the latter end of game 3, but Jade Dragons just unable to completely power through Layers and Solar Troll, definitely making a very big step up in comparison to what we saw out of the both of them in game 1. Seems as though they were able to play off of each other much better once they got a little bit more conventional picks to run in their roles.
And I think it's one of those things, I can already see it, like, no Johns, like the Scarabs just won this one, right? Like they played better in games 2 and 3. I mean, I think it's 12-1-8 for Layers individually. I think the 13 assists that you see from inbound count a lot. 6-0-10 for Baronic. I think they just stepped up and did exactly what they needed to do, and for some reason they do it best when it's either do or die up against the Kings when it came to the group stages, or for some reason twice now against the Dragons. If they can get whatever they did and recapture today and what they've done in those other sets and just do it a little more regularly, I could see this team crawling into the top 4.
Well, we can go ahead and take a look at the schedule. As you guys can see, Week 1's conclusion brings us to a couple of teams finding some solid 2-0 victories, most noticeably the Leviathans and the Olympus Bolts. Oni Warriors as well, taking down the Valhalla Valkyries. Solar Scarabs, while they fell 0-2 to the Tartarus Titans, made sure to find their comeback here today up against the Jade Dragons. And Titans just a little bit shy for this weekend, but you have to remember that this is only week 1 of Split 2. Plenty more competitive Smite action in the weeks to come, like you were just mentioning, Gore, and I'm definitely really excited to see how everything is going to actually shape up for these teams. But currently, we've got Olympus Bolts, Camelot Kings, and Atlantis Leviathans all in a 3-way tie for first, since all 3 of those teams managed to win their debut sets for Split 2. Tartarus Titans, Oni Warriors in the 50-50 position, given that they lost one, but managed to find the bounce back aspects. Corrected myself there from misreading the Tartarus Titans standings initially from that week 1 schedule, but Jade Dragons only played 1 set so far. This might be one of the only times that we'll ever see them this low in the standings here, Gore,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that that's a team that is never satisfied with a loss. And Valhalla Valkyries, of course, looking to try and find their bounce back opportunity as they trail very last place after week 1. But for week 2 coming up, we'll be starting things off with the Jade Dragons versus Atlantis Leviathans. That's sure to be a very spicy matchup. And again, have to keep in mind here, Gore, that these are all going to be matchups that take place after that Boots meta is removed. We're going to be seeing an entirely different game of Smite, and it'll be really interesting to see what the competitive style of play transitions to with that change going forward. Olympus Bolts finding themselves with a doubleheader. They're going to see if they're going to be able to maintain that first place 3-way tie. It should be interesting to see